Wow. Christ. I cannot match that energy today, but welcome to the Hat Chat podcast. It's episode 80. The big 80.
Wow.
Ah, we made it to 80. That was
We
a
did it.
milestone that we said a long time ago. If we hit that, we've made it.
This
done
is it. This is the
We've
big
made it. This is
leagues
us,
now.
guys.
Wow. Thank you, Will, for that. They wanted to be credited as just Will. That's it.
Hi, just
So I
Will.
put Will. This is from 2019. Sorry, Will. It's taken so long.
Oh, God.
Sorry. I'm really going back through old stuff so that almost everybody that has sent a finger will eventually get represented. If it's, above a level of absolute dog shit. If it's above dog shit, it's probably going to be okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Will.
Thanks for
Will.
that.
That was
Above
really
dog
good.
shit.
It was a really good one.
Very top of you.
I don't know how I missed that one. That I would have put that in at the time if I'd heard it. We have had a flood of them come through clearly in 2019, and I couldn't get through them all. So it's good that I'm
we
revisiting.
just stopped putting them out, and everyone was just like, "Well, am I bothering?"
Yeah, that's
This
true.
is why you bother, viewer.
There you go.
Because-
It finally comes around. All right. Thank you. Of course, we do these weekly. So if you haven't caught up, there's 79 more that are available on your favorite podcasting platform.
Plus the old stuff, if you really want to go back.
That's a really
I don't
old
know how many
Hat
there
Chat.
were of those. How many were there?
I can't remember, honestly. I think we were in the hundreds, though.
There were lots. I mean,
Hundreds? I think so.
I think so.
it was a lot. I mean, we were doing these back in,
Like 2015.
yeah, like
I don't.
We did Hat Chat
52.
early on.
52.
52.
Yeah,
We
see?
did do Hat Chat earlier on. The
Hundreds.
first one was September 5th, 2011.
2011.
Is that right? Yeah. 5th of September 2011. We were ahead of the curve. Well, not really ahead of the curve because people were doing it in 2001.
11 years ago.
So, yeah, that's
It's
that's
basically
right.
a radio
10
show,
years
let's
ago.
be honest. It's a recorded radio show.
Oh,
And
yeah,
there
that's
was-
exactly what it is.
yeah,
But in terms of
like-
it did take a while for podcasts to really kick off to be a point, like a thing that they are today. Like people use podcasts for everything. For getting
True
off,
that.
mostly. Is that
What,
not what you
listening to
listen
all
to?
the murderer ones, maybe.
Yeah, those ones are the best. They really get really fucking rigid. Anyway, I want
Thanks,
to
Will.
personally thank the people who support us on Patreon. They actually help us quite bigly on this podcast. So if you aren't a supporter on that, there is an option to at patreon.com/hatfilms.
Thanks, guys. You really
There we
support
go.
us.
Good
You
plug.
keep Hat Chat going. And you get credit at the end of the YouTube video. And it's going to be really quick this week because it's 20-second long fingal. So be like, your name's there. Pause. So thank you.
Yeah,
for
there's loads. And the thing is, at the beginning, when we started doing it, Smith said, "Look, I promise, what I'm going to do is I'll tattoo each name. They're going to be tiny, but I'll tattoo each name on the length of my penis." And he's running
Yeah.
out of space.
The trouble
Time
is,
to
like,
overlap.
I've got to get permanent. I've got to permanently keep a pretty hard one just to have
Yeah.
the space, just the page
Yeah.
space. Yeah.
But the tip's still free, so if you're
That's for the big
interested,
donators.
That's the big
Yeah.
ones. Big
Yeah,
ones.
yeah.
All right.
Maybe
But
the
is it
inside of
painful?
the-
Very painful now. Are you kind of numb to it?
Yeah, no, it really is. Yeah, you don't want somebody with a needle.
Have you lost sensitivity at all?
No, it makes it hypersensitive and if anything, quite swollen.
Right.
do you
wow.
think,
So it's engorged? So what size, like
Yeah.
percentage wise?
If I had to use a plant to describe it,
Yeah.
it looks a little bit like one of those, those like cup plants that like flies fall into.
Venus
and then the
flytrap.
lid
Wait,
closes.
no, that's not the same.
oh, the lid
It
one,
is a
right?
fly trap of some sort. It's
It's
called a
kind of a
jug
fly
or
trap. I know
a
the one you mean.
yeah,
Right.
one of those is
Yeah.
what it looks like. They have a name.
Brilliant. Wow,
Very
that
cool
sounds.
looking.
But it's not painful though.
A pitcher plant.
A pitch.
Oh, it's very painful, but I mean, you can manage the pain. It's just unfortunately the way it looks is the problem.
right.
Um,
With all
That's
these
thanks
names,
to the patrons, I get patrons.
yeah, thanks patrons for that. Yeah.
with all the patrons on your body, do you think at some point Ancestry and other like family
Will
tree
use-
records
yeah.
will use your body as accurate records rather than churches?
That's the plan. That is the plan. Yeah, they're gonna when I die, they're gonna cut it off and then stretch it like sort of like a
Over a timpani drum.
yeah, like a timpani drum, and then all the names will just stretch out real nice, like a reverse of those like shrinking things you used to put in the oven. You know, the wizard shrinking things where
Right,
you would
yeah.
like put what were they called? you know what I mean by that? Like you
I have no idea what you're talking
I'm
about.
trying to picture it.
Put thing in an
I'm just
oven
seeing
and it
the
shrinks.
timpani drum and a lot of scrawled text over the skin.
No, are they
But
called
anyway.
shrinky dinkies? That's the first suggestion.
Might be shrinky dinky. That's what it feels like.
Okay. Anyway,
Shrinky
that's. I
dinkies.
mean, again, thanks to the Patreon people.
Thanks for that. Yeah, patron.
You're funding this potty talk.
Not only that, they also got to choose the hypothetical questions of this week from a selection. So, and you voted for this following one to be talked about, and discussed. Have you got the document there to read it out, Alex Smith?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. The first
I don't know why I make you
hypothetical
do
this
it every time.
It's nice. It's nice to be
Are
involved.
your
I like
eyes
it.
working?
All right, I'll
Can
do
you
it.
read today?
Please don't take this away from me.
You've just given him a task. Let him do it.
How much would your life change if the internet went down indefinitely?
I thought this was quite an interesting question.
Yeah, work.
I mean, our lives would really change.
We'd
because,
be out of work.
Our
so
job
you'd have to-
would, yeah.
Is this the equivalent to digital busking? What we do?
Yeah.
Clowning, but people can hear us. Like, so
Yeah.
if we did this on the streets, do you think anyone's going to toss a coin our way?
I'd love
don't
to
know if
think
they
they
would.
would, but I don't believe that would happen.
Because you need to be there for a period of time. It's not
Yeah.
something that you can just walk past. You can't just
Yeah.
catch a little bit of the combo. I mean, imagine us just setting up a desktop PC in the middle of the center of Bristol. We've got a big screen, so they can still see the screen, but we're kind of like just huddled around it playing games and chatting into a microphone that's also on some speakers. I think we'd be told to move on very quickly.
Why are these guys still playing Trials?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're just doing an episode.
Just
Go
got
on
like
it. Come on.
3
Stick around.
laptops set up, just playing games in the middle of the street.
Reset.
We
You
don't
know,
have
like
the internet anymore. Haven't you heard?
yeah,
But
there's
yeah,
no
we'd be out
internet.
of work, so I guess
I like to think that we'd
be
simplify
job.
other elements of it, so we wouldn't use a computer. We use a complicated system of cut-out cardboard objects to simulate what a computer would look like, even though computers still exist.
okay.
Yeah, that's what I was
guess
going to say.
Why don't we go down to board games? Just giant chess.
Yeah.
But chess where we could ride the animal, ride them like I'm riding a horse, maybe
mean,
the knight, and then you can ride one as
No.
well. And what would you imagine
This
that
is
would go
ridiculous.
like?
I can't imagine it.
Smith,
I
if
know, I
you can
don't know.
imagine, can you picture like
No.
people like on
Standing on a huge
the
chessboard.
chess
where-
pieces? Yeah, huge chess, but you have to yell out like where you want them to go. Can you picture how that would go, Trott? Do you know what that would even like sound like?
Yeah, there's the image in my mind that's already been
Yeah.
pre-created, from some sort of movie franchise.
Right, okay. But we'll do
Yeah.
that in the town centre and hope that we can earn enough to at least buy
But again,
food for that evening.
the internet's gone down indefinitely. Not all electronics and computers. Like we still have access
Sure.
to video games and other forms of LAN.
But so yeah, we're in the era of N64s.
Yeah,
in the
kind of.
sense
Yeah,
of like
Yeah.
we're in
back
our
there.
childhood.
Gameplay.
We're back to the ages of
Yeah, we've lived
how
through
old-
that.
14
we've
was it
experienced that.
when sort of mainstream internet? I kind of get very early teens. I seem to remember.
I think I
us-
was 14
Yeah,
in terms of like getting a dial-up connection and playing games like
Yeah.
Battle for Middle Earth. I guess was something I used to play. Like I remember I played with Ashman and he had to ask his mum to get off the phone because occasionally she would pick up and be, so like just before then I imagine that's what we're thinking. I think obviously we'd be a bit more social. I think I'd probably spend a bit more time maybe like a pub or something, which is kind of I don't know. I don't really enjoy sitting
and
drinking
honestly,
pint after pint
is it a
personally,
better
but-
use of your time? I mean, obviously, I think you can't get over the fact that human beings are social creatures,
Yeah.
and whilst they have different preferences for how much they like to socialize or be around people, completely removing it is, on the whole, I think, bad for the human mind.
Yeah.
However, that can come in many different forms. More recently, for us, has been online games, right? Like playing with people and sitting like at home in the evenings, talking to each other on Discord and stuff like that. For me, is probably why people used to go to the pub, because you could get to chat to people and have fun. But I mean, I mean, obviously there are some
And the darts.
downsides to that, huh?
And the darts.
And the darts, of course. Yeah,
Pool,
no,
of course, as well. Don't
yeah.
forget pool.
Oh, of course, and the jukebox. But no, I mean, I think it's not necessarily a bad thing that we don't go to pubs anymore. Partly because everybody drinking so much isn't a good thing, and I just don't think if we can develop a new form of social forum that doesn't involve everyone having to get a little bit poisoned. I mean, don't this sounds dramatic, but I mean, yeah, I'm just trying to work out a way to why.
For some reason, I'm picturing you running into a packed pub and saying, "You're all poisoning yourself. Put it down!" Smashing a glass. That's
knocking glasses out of people's hands.
Put it
down. Put it
you
down.
Don't
No, I still have a drink now and then. I do enjoy the flavor of a nice beer, but and other alcohols. But like, yeah, no, I mean, yeah, the pub. I think beyond us and beyond our job, the internet going out indefinitely would be in a lot of ways good for us. I think the main advantage of the internet is the speed at which you can access vast quantities of information. So for things like doctors, for things like not necessarily, you know, for spreading information regarding like health, like a country's health, you know, the internet can help there. Managing large parts of like, you know, a citizen's life is really useful to have the internet, because like, for example, the NHS app, even though it goes down all the fucking time, you know, is useful to have this connectivity. I don't want to have to send a bloody letter to my doctor requesting an appointment and then him have to send, or her have to send a letter back. You know, the speed.
You get a landline. Cool.
Yeah.
They still have phones.
For some reason, it also reminds me of, I mean, I don't think this really applies to this question, but like when people request stuff on radio now, like today, when they have access to Spotify and all these other platforms to listen to music on, they'll call up and request a specific song.
It's the interactivity.
It is the glory of like, oh, I get to, you know, get something on the radio, but it's just like, you could just play that.
Well, yeah. But you know, everyone else on their commute is listening to that same station. It's like the accolade of like, I'm going to request a song for everybody that's listening to it on the radio. Like all my mates are commuting right now and they're going to hear me on the radio. I rang up Orchard FM a couple of times as a kid. Remember Orchard FM before it was like Heart? And well, you might not have got it, Ross, but Trott would have heard it. And I rang up and I'd ask every so often for just like songs that as a teenager I was listening to that they would never play on mainstream radio. You know, like oh, can you put this like random alt rock band on, please?
The Offspring, Beheaded, please.
Yeah. And it never happened. But yeah, I remember thinking that as well, Trot. I'm like, oh man, if any of my friends are like in the car listening to their parents' radio or whatever, like, and they hear this, they're gonna be like, oh, cool. You know, but
it's like birthdays, celebrations, all that kind of thing. It's like, could you play Aqua Barbie Girl for my little one? She loves it. She's 8 today. It's like, well, you don't know the misogynistic complications of that song. It's actually kind of derogatory to your daughter there, so maybe you should really reconsider. Anyway, here's Aqua Barbie Girl.
Fine, switch it up. Ozone, Maya He.
Love it.
But yeah, oh man, yeah, I think our lives would be completely different. I think also, like I think you covered it a little bit there, but also, I guess the hysteria around knowing everything that's going on at all times is died down, and it's just what you read in the papers, or there's no internet, so
I think
it would be a lot more muted. I think people would be a little bit more kind of, I know I would be a little bit more level-headed in the sense that I wouldn't be thinking about those things. They wouldn't be on my mind. Not that they're not big things, obviously. You want to know about things like climate change and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
It wouldn't be everywhere all the time, popping up, showing you everything. Oh, alert! Something's happened. BBC News, boom, red thing come up. Oh shit.
The question is essentially, like, are we better off knowing about things like climate change and being able to hit? Because if the internet didn't exist and we didn't have this other way to get news that goes beyond our borders, we would be relying on our government or whoever's in power or whoever our sort of big people are to tell us. And to tell us what's going on. And you wouldn't necessarily know about things. Like if you had a government who was, you know, oh, climate change is a hoax or whatever, you wouldn't know about it. And I think ultimately how I feel about the internet is it has given me both the best parts of my life and the worst. Because I do think that the internet has probably made me mentally less stable, like you say. Like I do think, you know, all that news, all that information is a lot. And I think it overwhelms
most of it,
a lot of
you
people.
don't need to know.
Yeah.
You don't need to be thinking about half this shit because it won't affect you, or like in a direct way. Like half the shit we learn about politicians and stuff, I mean, it's shit to hear about it, but there's, like you say before, there's no way we can actually control it. So you just end up being bitter and angry when you read that stuff.
Yeah.
Or then talking about it on podcasts and then angering other people, and it's just a vicious cycle. But yeah, no, I think we'd be a bit happier kind of.
I think we'd be more satisfied, wouldn't we?
Yeah, but news on TV and stuff, you still always hear the disaster stuff, and I mean, well, just think back to 2001 and seeing World Trade Center stuff that stuck in your head, but that's all that was on TV at the time.
Yeah, it becomes selective media at that point where you only get really what's vetted. So, what I guess there'll be more integrity in the BBC pre-internet. You could argue there was journalistic integrity rather than searching for clickbait or heading for the big titles and stuff. I guess
so, yeah.
Attention grabbing.
Might be, but there's still obviously, like you said, there's still somebody editing that and still choosing to show a specific thing to you, which is the thing that now obviously we have freedom to kind of research a bit more into specific articles, see different sides of things, and kind of make your own decision from that if you choose to actually research. But yeah, I still think there's still biases and stuff that would affect us. But I think it'd be I'd be a bit bored. I like using the internet.
Yeah, our whole brains have kind of been set up for this now, haven't they? Like the way
the rug pull.
It's my external HDD of memory. Yeah. That's what the internet is. It's I don't really store knowledge in my own brain anymore. True. I kind of use Google instead. Because it's more efficient that way. I can just be like, oh, what does that mean?
Yeah,
it means that. Also,
the way you act, like you said, so just on that same point, when you think of what you're trying to think of, you think of how to Google it rather than what the thing you're thinking of. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
You find a different path to it.
Yeah. It's the path of least resistance. It's I could rack my brain trying to remember what the capital of blah blah is. Or I could just Google it real quick because I'm just getting annoyed at myself for not knowing it faster than the internet can provide it, basically.
Yeah, for sure. I literally had that earlier when I was talking to my partner, saying about can you look this up for me? And then they were doing something and I was just like, no, do it like this. You have a way, you learn how to find information rather than how to retain it. And then you get frustrated when you're for me at least, I understand that there's a certain number of Google searches that I'm going to remove from what I think is valid because I know to identify them as not the thing I'm looking for, right? In when you're looking for internet speed information or something like that, you're just I know that quite a lot of these websites are just going to be trying to sell me new internet, so I'll discount them. I'm looking for actual information. Those are ads. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you need to learn that just to understand how to extract that information, which is just a pain in the ass. Yeah. I don't know. I'd like to think it would be happier, but then partly, we like change, right? Change is interesting. Change is something new. We like new is probably a better way to describe it. I think we're all programmed to want new things all the time. And change is essentially that, even if it is a spin of the wheel. I mean, the world would crumble if we took away the internet, like you say, quite a rug pull.
In terms of having access to other stuff, even just things like bank payments and whatever, all of that stuff would then suddenly slow back to a crawl again. To what it was once was. So I think a lot would change. Yeah, I mean, shit, it would suck.
I'm gonna miss all those little tutorials where you can just literally go on YouTube and be like, how does keyframing specifically work in this version of After Effects? And then someone's done a video on that. It's I've got an answer to everything literally at my fingertips. I can learn a whole new skill set straight away. I won't though, because I'll instead play games every evening. But I could.
I mean, you're right. Yeah, I mean, the dissemination.
There's other distractions online.
The way the access to information is just so incredible, isn't it? That is arguably the best upside of the internet, is that access to information. However, it's well, what's the effect on you is the downside.
We'd be happier. We'd be bored, and it would be less informative.
It's dumbing me down.
I don't think it's dumbing us down.
It's just a me thing.
In general, I think that it really depends on how you use it. I was watching Gogglebox. Yeah, I like watching Gogglebox because because I don't watch. I know you guys don't really either terrestrial television that much. As in shows that are on channel 1, 2, 3, or 4 or whatever. And the way I still see that.
First, sorry, just to...
So what we would call terrestrial television.
Gogglebox, the concept.
Sorry, right, okay. Yeah. Gogglebox is a show in the UK that's very, very popular. Essentially, it is watching people and families from across the UK of different demographics watch TV shows that are currently going on, right? Largely, it's on what we would call terrestrial TV. So, what is broadcast to the nation via our main channels, via an aerial. Yeah, free channels, exactly. But anyway, this show is essentially, lots of people from lots of different backgrounds watching TV shows. And I find that very interesting. I know lots of people else probably do as well. It's why it's popular, because you get, different takes, different reactions. It's interesting to see people react to the same information on the same shows as you and see what they think. What does surprise me sometimes is the number of people on there that like shows like Selling Sunset. So have you seen the show Selling Sunset?
Yeah.
It's not something I think any of us would ever watch. But essentially it's this weird kind of, how Made in Chelsea is sort of this meant to be this pseudo real semi-scripted thing, right? Where
like they're real people, but the scenarios
are a bit,
we've written those.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Selling Sunset is a little bit like that in that like it's about essentially meant to be about estate agents, right? So people selling very expensive homes in places like LA. But what they've done is they've glamorized the people selling the houses. So like the show is kind of about them as well. And obviously their identity and stuff is what the audience is very much sort of driven towards. So a lot of the people watching it were like, oh, that's so-and-so, that's so-and-so, this is so-and-so, this is so-and-so. Oh, she's a real, dangerous, whatever. But I watched that and I thought, yeah, this is making people more stupid. Like going back to what you said about do you feel like it's making people more dumb? I think it depends on what you're accessing. And I know a lot of people will be like,
it's just passive.
It's just mindless fun. I don't.
It's not educational, and but I haven't seen it, but I'm imagining most reality shows are kind of like it as well, like all the Kardashian shit. It's basically, it's like a fetishizing of something that you'll never experience yourself. You're never going to be this person. You're never going to live in an LA mansion.
Yeah.
But it's an escapism, isn't it? And that's where I see the element of entertainment, and I don't, personally enjoy it, but I know that that's what it's geared towards. And it's just like the format's so similar, it's just repeated everywhere,
I think you're more open-minded than me, Ross, basically.
Similar though, isn't it? Gogglebox is a reality show in itself. It's a reaction show. It's like the Fine Brothers do on YouTube. Is it Fine Brothers? Where they do that stuff on YouTube, and people just want to see what people react to anything, right?
Humans are social creatures.
Sometimes it's quite interesting to know what is good to watch as well. Like if something looks like it's going to spoil, I'll turn it over so I can actually watch it. But yeah, there is something fascinating about watching other people kind of enjoy content.
That's essentially what we're doing as a job. We are people that people observe enjoying content, mostly gaming. So if we don't like Gogglebox, then we don't like our own job.
My reason for, and I think you're in the right here, really, Ross, saying that it can be passive, it can be enjoyed, it can be interesting, regardless of the show. It's not fair to say this is making people more stupid. Ultimately, if I had to choose a stance to take that I think is the most progressive, it's probably that one. But I'm going to come at it with my own personal angry feelings about this because I'm an angry man sometimes, and feel like I can't help but think art and culture affects the national, or rather the global or Western mindset. Like in terms of, it doesn't have to be just limited to the UK, because the UK, the US, Europe,
societal stuff. As in, something like Love Island, where
I think that's terrible.
Several people in the actual show have killed themselves.
It's fucked. I think
there are
all of it
social pressures that does weigh on people as well. But obviously that's a small percentage in terms of people. Some people just want to watch fucking attractive people just wander around a house.
Yes, absolutely, and that is harmless as long as that is maintained, where it's just like, I know this is fucked. I know this is this. What I don't think that the vast majority of that audience thinks like that. I think that kind of thinking is not necessarily the norm. I think that people watching things like Selling Sunset, these vapid, weird fucking people who are selling $50 million houses, who are wrecking economies, that are wrecking the dreams, wrecking the healthcare of countries, wrecking the dreams of young people. I just think that there is so much harm involved in these shows that, regardless of if it's affecting the audience participation in them is negatively affecting us as a species, as a people. And maybe it won't be around forever. You know, maybe these kind of shows will move on as our culture and as our opinions change. And ultimately, I hope what you're saying, Ross, is correct. And that seems to be the way of thinking. Like, you know, I'm not saying that this is the way it is. I'm saying this is how I see it. But, you know, I'm a quite strange sort of semi-depressed person, so I obviously need to think about how like my lens sees the world. But ultimately, I think if I could remove things like Selling Sunset, like Love Island, all these things that are really unimportant and bad for people's souls and for people's perception of themselves, I would do it, because I don't think we would lose anything valuable. And if it's just entertainment, then go entertain yourselves doing something else. But, you know,
yeah, I think whenever I see, even just I've only seen the trailer of that, but it's just I can already imagine the only reason to watch that is probably similar to the reasons I watch Grand Designs, because you see these spectacular, unreachable destinations, unreachable goals. That's kind of just like, well, let's see how the other side are living. And I think that's the fascination.
Why does there shouldn't be another side?
Well.
This all
there's always going to be another side.
Is there? No, yeah. I think that's that's not a good state of mind to have. What do you mean there's always going to be the other side?
How are you going to, like, you can't change the entire world, and people are going to be fascinated by the ultra wealthy.
You can change. No, you're right. You can't change things, and I mean that well, you can,
unless you're the one in power.
I understand what you mean.
The one in power isn't going to go, oh, no, give everything away. Like,
yeah. Well, you know, when the world is, you know, a fucking fireball and everyone is depressed and, you know, all this shit, at least I'll get to stand at the gaping maw of the end of eternity and say, told you so, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the only, that for me, in this mind space, is the only benefit I can see from me thinking like this. Either I think, like, people do what everybody else does.
Yeah.
Because that's the way it's going to be, or I don't. And I, at least when I fucking breathe my last breath, go, yeah, well, at least I fucking
I'm going to take that last breath, by the way.
Yeah. And Trott's going to be there to breathe that fucker in. Cheers, buddy! Thumbs up as I'm like, why am I dying so young? Why do you look so young?
Go on, say it with your last breath. Told you so.
Yeah.
But as damaging as those things are on a societal level, like, they are all escapism, just like video games for us. Obviously, video games don't show off a genuine lifestyle necessarily, but, like, it's a fantasy.
I'd argue
right?
shows like that, and particularly the ones where you're looking at billionaire mansions, are not forms of escapism. Or they are in the moment, but they aren't long term. They're, in fact, a reflection on what you don't have, and they are damaging over time, I think. Like, subconsciously, you're like, I really want that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, all that stuff, it's unattainable, and I can never have it. And that just, like, chips away at your psyche, I think, every time you see it. And that's why that wedge and that disparity is there, is because it's like, I can never possibly get that. And you're reinforcing that state of mind every time you look at it.
Would you arguably say something like Top Gear is the same?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're like, every time they do a Top Gear episode, they're showing off quite an unattainable vehicle for the most of the population, and you know, they're fetishizing it. They're saying how great it is, amazing. This drives better than the last one, as if you've ever driven any of them.
Yeah.
That is in the same category, but I would still describe that as an escapist thing, because it's like, I know, as long as you can ground yourself in the reality that you know you can't achieve those things right now. Sure, it's nice to dream, but, like, that's down on the individual to know that they can't hit those.
You said the thing. This is the thing, though, and this is the grand lie, and this is something you can't say right now, because that is a different. And I will say, you're right. I think you're right. I think you are right. Like, that you could. I'm
not
argue
deluded
that,
by the idea of owning supercars.
Yeah, exactly. But then, to an extent, though, like, it's a slide, right? Like, with cars. I don't think you're ever going to get a pricing crisis with cars where so many people are wanting to buy a car that they're rocketing out, where you're literally taking the ability to own a car away from a section of people, right? That with things like supercars, they are truly like a luxury, right? In terms of, like, you only get it because you're willing to spend $100 grand on having fun, right? You're not getting it,
and you're more than likely okay with everything else. You've got a house.
Exactly. I think the problem with houses and with these massive mansions and these people glamorizing these kind of lifestyles is that as we glamorize the big, it squeezes the small even harder. And I think that like it has a much more tangible effect. Everyone needs somewhere to live, and everyone should have a decent amount of space. But the reality is a vast majority of people don't have a huge amount of space. They live on top of each other, you know. That's the way it is. It's not like you're trying to cram 8 people into a Lamborghini. And then what I said about the big thing, the big lie is like, you say that right now I can't get this. Maybe one day I'll get it. I'm fine with that, with aspirational stuff of like, maybe one day I'll get it. But it's when it is so out of reach that a person could never tangibly like achieve that thing, then that isn't fair. That's not fair. That's not a fair society. There's no fair shake here. You know, like I agree. I understand that like we are within a certain system that means that we're willing to compete. We're willing to try and, you know, you have to try to work hard to be better and make more. I have a bigger problem with the fact that like, I'm okay with that as long as the playing field is even, but it's just not. And to think that it is, and to think that we could ever achieve some of the things that people who have generational wealth or some other forms of extreme wealth is not only unrealistic, it's damaging. But anyway, we've been through this before.
It's hard to picture because you'd have to literally, I guess, eradicate what is capitalism, as in others being able to afford things that you can't because you haven't hit a certain threshold or job or whatever.
Regulation, not necessarily the better regulation would work. I'm not saying you need to get rid of capitalism. I'm not going to go there and be like, yeah, that's it. We need a fucking revolution.
But capitalism means that there's always going to be somebody with more.
Yes, but the idolization
and then it's seeing what's available. It's like have you ever watched a video
when did we start making
Bentley being made, and it was really like this amazing luxurious process, and it's just like, God, like I would never even imagine buying one of those, or I don't actually like Bentleys, but besides the point, it's a thing that it's a luxury that I just don't feel like I could achieve. But I think it's nice to see. I think it's nice to see that these things exist. Do you know what I mean? It's like that's the top of the premium.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I like the craft of it. Like No, I understand that. I think it's when it becomes a product to sell unachievable aspiration to people. Is when it becomes problematic. And I understand what you're saying. It's like you know, making nice bits of furniture. If a person you know has this amazing piece of an amazing tree they chopped down and made this incredible, like, I don't know, oak table that's worth loads and loads of money because oak takes fucking ages to grow. It took a lot of work to get that. I get that. Yeah, absolutely. And you're like, well, I wouldn't spend 15 grand on a table, but look at how beautiful this thing is. Absolutely. I do understand that for sure. Yeah.
Do you think Instagram filters are keeping us on the same page? So we can now all use the same filters and look identical.
No, we're fucked. Instagram's fucking up everyone. I mean,
because that's also messing with people's head as well, right?
Yeah,
it's in the same way as reality. You don't know what's real anymore. And then there's loads of people just going, oh, by the way, I've just had a filter the entire time. I look like completely different underneath. It's like, oh fuck. I'm impressed by the technology.
Yeah,
it deceived me entirely.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the technology is the thing that always keeps me coming back to the plate. You know, like just because of the incredible things we can make and the incredible things we can do with all of this stuff, you know, like watching the fucking rockets, you know, obviously the billionaire issue, that's a very hot topic and hopefully will one day be addressed, but it is still amazing to see those rockets land.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. As a feat, it's impressive. And, you know, I'm not bitter that exists. It's just, when you think about billionaires and stuff and, you know, not paying a fair share of tax and stuff like that, that does irk me a little bit, because I also don't feel like people are aware of how much a billion really is. That when they start defending, he's earned his money fair and share like the rest of us, and you know they've trampled on like hundreds of thousands of heads to get to where they are. And I don't think that's a reasonable like outcome, to be wealthier than everyone else as an individual. It just seems like nuts, and that's absurd. And the fact they're not even like cycling that money back to the people as well. It's being just hoarded
through like massive profit share or something like that.
So so when you're in a way, these rocket launches are glamorizing being a billionaire. And, you know, like you say, there's that attainable want to become that, but that's extremely unlikely. Unless that billionaire comes to you and gives you all his money.
Yeah, I mean, I'll shut up for life if a billionaire comes and gives me £1 million. I mean, I don't think I'm doing anything to stop them from being a billionaire, but like
just lobbying, right? Essentially.
But anyway, the second, well, did we do an ad break? We didn't do an ad break.
No, I didn't want to interject, but yeah, we're good 15 minutes past the midway point, and we've got 5 minutes left of the whole podcast, so we're just going to have to find a point, I think.
We'll sneak one in there. It's fine.
Sneak one in.
Sorry for the sneaky ad.
So yeah, it depends.
Also, there was probably one at the start for Beer 52, right?
Potentially. I don't know which ones they're going on or what.
Did you guys get any beer through the post? I did.
I didn't give them my address.
Oh.
But
that probably will make it tricky.
He'll be at the office.
We found him. We've hunted him down like a bounty hunter. No, I got them. They look really nice. So
well, don't give them any more than they've paid for.
Sorry. Yeah, they haven't paid anything now, but they did do another one. Anyway, second Patreon question. This one should be a little bit more lighthearted, we promise. We're sorry. I mean,
it went off.
I hope you enjoy listening to this, listener. We're learning to try and talk about it more conversationally rather than just to depress you. You're probably fully aware of a lot of the things going on in the world right now. So yeah, chin up. It is
difficult. I think I've seen these comments on some of our videos where we do talk about politics and stuff. But like, I think the thing is, we will talk about anything we feel comfortable talking about with each other. And I think that's the important thing about why we've probably survived so long. Because if we were constantly just like, well, no, that's not funny enough, so cut it out. Let's do something funny. If you're constantly trying to find the funny in everything, it's not as organic. And so normally it's us satirizing these dumb realities that we're talking about. So yeah, hopefully that doesn't ruin your experience. Because I know that people in the recent GTAs were like, oh god, this isn't as funny as it should be. Like, I'm sorry, we've been doing it for 10 years.
Human
chat about everything
as well. Yeah,
we have no real limits, which is like we'd like to think is one of our appeals. But
I also think that like this is the only chance I get to talk to people of a similar mindset about these things. You know, like us, especially in lockdown, where I've barely seen any friends really. And like obviously I've been talking to them in the evenings and stuff, but like and so we as people grow and change and experience things, then of course that is going to come through in the content, because I've never wanted to be, and I don't think any of you guys have either, nor have we ever really particularly tried to be one of those many YouTubers that is just fake as fuck, frankly. You know, like the people that chose probably quite sensibly, because it's not like I'm reaping any rewards from being the kind of person I am, but like you know, the people out there that are making lots and lots of money on YouTube as content creators are people with usually no qualms whatsoever and a very refined, presented persona, right? Like, I feel like if you ever had a proper conversation with any of us in a pub or something, at a meet and greet or something, we're going to be quite like, hey, nice to meet you. You really like, we want to give you a nice bit of positivity, a nice bit of energy to say hello and all that sort of stuff. But if you ever sat down with us for any period of time and talked about this shit, you would get this. You would get what we're talking about right now. And that's really awesome. I know many creators that aren't like that at all and have really no real, they don't give any real, I don't think, a lot of the time. They don't. But they've made lots of money. Yeah, exactly.
The character that they've created, which most people do have a persona, and you kind of need one to kind of separate your online. Well, the fact that you're just chatting in a room on your own half the time, which is something you need to get over, and then being able to obviously be like a presenter, because you know, if you imagine out in a deck, I don't imagine they're always going to be on when they're off, like, you know.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Screen. They're they're making sure that they're entertaining because they know that's their job. So
But thanks everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for sticking around. We appreciate it very much. And thanks.
We'll get around to this second hypothetical.
Yeah, sorry. Thanks for giving us the platform to do it. The second hypothetical from the Patreon people who support the podcast. Thank you very much. How do you think evolution will impact humans in the future? So I presume that means our evolution.
As in what we're going to evolve into, like
let me get mutant powers.
Free and
oh, you want to be a Pokemon? I want to be an X-Men.
An X-Men. I guess. Do you think we'll evolve without like things like our appendix, which is apparently useless? But that's going to take like how many millions of years does it take to evolve into like anything?
Yeah.
Again, all my knowledge comes from Kurt's Gazette, right? So,
right, okay, here we go.
In terms of evolution, like wings and stuff, like we can't evolve wings.
I don't know. I
good,
flap
okay.
every morning, Trot.
Yeah, he's flapping. Yeah, if we all flapped, let's all work together to flap. If you're at home listening to this, flap. If you're driving,
I don't think that's going to cut it. So, with evolution, every stage along the way to wings has to be an evolutionary advantage for the creature. You can't just like halfway through just decide to like, I'm going to start having flesh here to here, because that's not beneficial. It needs to be beneficial every step of the way, which is why we probably haven't developed wings. I don't know why I went to wings, but it's the obvious one, right? Where it's like,
I like it.
Why are other things flying or not?
Yeah, when will we get our bloody time in the sky? I don't know.
None of us are biologists, but
No.
I mean, I think largely evolution comes down to selection pressure. So, like, selection pressure would come from the fact that, say, for example, every person that was born with an appendix died for some reason, and all the people that by chance say that, so that chance comes through like things like mutation and things like that. If a person was born without an appendix and that was an evolutionary advantage, that meant that they got to procreate much more than all the people with appendixes, then yes, eventually you could say that the humans have evolved to have no appendixes. The problem is that selection pressure largely doesn't really exist in the human world anymore. I mean, there are definitely places in the world where it is still, hard to survive, but especially for like Europeans and Westerners, there aren't a huge, even if you're pretty fucked up genetically or evolutionarily speaking, there are lots of systems in place to look after you. I think that the whole other thing of evolution takes fucking ages, millions of years.
Yeah, it's
and
very slow.
Humans have been around in their more modern state for like 70,000 or something like that, is like what you would consider a human that isn't just living in a fucking cave, but yeah, let's think about this in a fun way. How do you think evolution will impact humans in the future? I think that having a trunk is going to be quite useful.
Okay. Nice.
I would like a trunk.
See, I was going to go with the realism of do you think population is going to get uglier due to the kind of facial surgeries people have? I mean, when you look at Kylie Jenner, that kid's not going to look like her. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But that's not natural selection. There's a mask on there.
Don't, Ross. You'll go back into another good reason for why
I don't want to get too deep into it. Yeah.
Stop proving my points, Ross.
I know.
Yeah.
No, but wings would be fun.
Wings would be good. Yeah. But yeah, no, you're right. There was actually a really interesting ad. I think it was in Korea that I saw a few years ago, talking about. I'm not sure if it was an ad or it was more sort of like a awareness thing by a charity or something. But yeah, essentially, if plastic surgery and changing your appearance becomes so popular, where both you and your partner have had extensive plastic surgery before meeting each other, you may not even recognize the child.
Well, the child, well, you'd recognize them, but they wouldn't look. You wouldn't be able to attribute certain features to them. So
they would have all of the
things
you disliked about yourself, right? So they would have that big nose that you decided to get surgery for. They would have that chin or that, and that is in a way already setting that child up for massive insecurity. And the only way that they can change that insecurity is to have surgery. And I think that's pretty fucked. I think
that's the next generational thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kid face surgeries. And it's probably going to happen sooner than you think. I mean, yeah, and it will happen with the ultra rich, I imagine, first. And we'll start witnessing it and be like, hang on, that kid is starting to look fucking strange.
I think that evolution
mess with them.
may come through designer babies, genetics. So gene therapies. So, for example, like gene.
That's been a thing for ages. Do you remember, when we were young?
Are they legally allowed to do that?
No.
Well, ethically, no. Like, as in, but it's only. I don't think it would take much. I mean, why not?
Would you design yours?
Yes,
you could. Sure.
Yeah. I think that is either genetic therapies or technological therapies would be the best way to do it. Yeah. I think that technological is less likely than genetic, because I think a lot of people aren't particularly jazzed about having bits of metal and machines put into their body. But I think that if you could make sure your child has 20/20 vision, has genes that would help them less likely to get skin cancer. There are lots of.
If you could make sure that there's no illnesses, then I guess it. But then is that messing with natural selection again?
It is, but
the ethics of it, isn't it?
We have the power. Fuck it. Yeah. It's like, do you want to play God? Yeah, we are God. We are. Like we are in my opinion, the closest thing you could get to whatever the human concept of God is. If we're at that point, if we can, I mean, the biggest thing, and I'm not sure if we'll see it in our lifetimes, but I think the next big crisis will be the fact that the rich will be able to extend their lifespans and the poor won't.
And they get to watch us all die.
Yeah. That will be a very big crisis because we will get there as long as we don't blow each other up. Everything I say is always based on us
Futurama?
blowing ourselves
the heads
pieces.
in the jar.
Yeah.
Christ.
And you only need to look to sci-fi for sort of ideas for this sort of stuff. That's what's so great about science fiction. Like even stuff from the 1950s onwards, they were writing about things that have happened and that have come to fruition, and that's really cool because they're food for thought in terms of what may or may not happen in the future.
But the holograms still look shit then.
Yeah. Sci-fi is also almost like a template as well.
Yeah.
Because you have billionaires like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos who are sci-fi nerds, grew up on these shows, and are now fulfilling their dreams based on those as templates. It's like, I always wanted to be a spacefaring civilization. I get to pay for it now. And all the tech and stuff like mobile phones and like the intercom things on Star Trek, they're kind of like, they're the concepts really until technology catches up to them. So really, sci-fi shapes humanity in a way, and in terms of technology. So we've got to be careful with what sci-fi shows we release.
And once again, Trott, just bringing that right back round to the start.
Yeah.
Culture and art affect humanity. Culture and art inspire. It really is. Like, this is what I was saying. Culture and art inspire the ideas of the future and affect us on scales we cannot see, and so we always need to be conscious of that and of how. I mean, and also, I know the whole billionaire thing is shit. Like, I'm not saying it, but the upside of having these billionaires is that they do not have the same legislative sluggishness that countries have. The fact that NASA and the space race only really happened because it was a good thing for the president at the time, for the country at the time. America idea of capitalism was very much up against a growing idea of communism coming out of the Soviet Union and other places that they were sort of gaining territory. But that individuals, these rich individuals, don't have those same pressures. They can go, fuck it, let's try and get to Mars, and they don't have to get through all the legal shit, through all of the cultural shit, spend public money, because they've turned public money into private money in the form of Amazon, people like that. All these systems and commercial systems in place are funding these things. So it's bad because it's unregulated, and obviously it's creating these demigods, financial demigods in these people. But there are upsides to it in that it is quicker. I'm not saying it's better, but there's a reason that we're seeing this progress, and it's because of the progress is a symptom of a system that has been optimized and railroaded like fucking crazy by these people. It's interesting. I guess you just got to try and get out alive, haven't you? Like, it's so bloody complicated. But it is exciting. I just wish we weren't in a global pandemic.
I know. Yeah.
Get your boosters if you can.
Get those bloody boosters. Trott's had it yesterday. He's fine. Look at him.
Yeah.
He has got a larger penis, though. Sorry, guys. There is a side effect.
Yeah.
Well, it's always been growing my whole life.
You could take over some of my tattooing duties, Trott.
Your what? Yeah, I could
take over some of the tattoos
flesh.
I'm having. The Patreon tattoos.
It's a lot of surface area.
Yeah, they're gonna have to keep him coming in there. That's the thing.
I am out of it today, as you probably have noticed in this hat chat. But
just as long as you don't feel like we're speaking over you. I thought you were just giving us lots of space.
I was trying to cut you off where possible, mate.
Nice. Yeah.
Sorry, stop talking. Is this pretty much all we've got time for now?
Yeah, I guess so. This is actually the last podcast for a couple of weeks, as it is Christmas. Well, it's Christmas Eve next Friday, where we're not around. And what's after that? Probably New Year's or something. So we're having a couple of weeks break and then back in the first week of January. So expect us for that.
There will be content going out pretty much every day. There's a few days we would not.
Yeah.
Don't worry about Christmas Day. I don't think we're bothering with that.
Yeah, statistically, it's
Christmas.
one of the worst days for views. So it's more of a case of like, you don't need to watch this.
Be present.
Focus on your fam.
The internet's down on that day, and you have to then be in the world. Treat it like that as a challenge. See if you can do it for the whole day. Well, let's give them a little bit of news, Ross, just to round this off.
Yeah.
May as
A
well.
little bit of news. Okay.
They're going to be away for 2 weeks.
What's this one here? Woman swallows Apple AirPod after mistaking it for a painkiller. How does that mean? That? Honestly, I've seen what they look like, and they don't look like painkillers. They're big. I mean, even the smaller one that's like it goes in your ear, that's still chunky. Anyway, a Boston-based TikTok user shared her experience of accidentally swallowing an Apple AirPod after mistaking it for an ibuprofen tablet.
There she is.
The 27-year-old who uses the handle I am Carly was visibly upset and distressed in her video post, saying, "I was crawling into bed. I had an ibuprofen 800 in my right hand, and I had my left earpod in my left hand. I threw something back, took my bottle of water, took a sip, and then realized it wasn't the ibuprofen. Surely you would choke." She said she tried puking it up, and it wouldn't come out. She's losing her mind, and she's distraught in this video. I'm guessing I haven't seen the actual video. I'm guessing she's just crying. I just swallowed one of my AirPods.
How big are ibuprofens?
They're not that big. Even a big one, they are like
an 800 milligram would be quite big.
That's quite chunky.
The ones we have are 200 milligrams per. So it's four of those.
I've had some Dayquil and NyQuil from America, and holy crap, they're big boys.
Do you reckon they're bigger then?
Well, they're not shaped like an AirPod.
Yeah, it still isn't a reason why you'd accidentally do it. I mean, also, I'd be really trying to make myself throw up because those have got lithium batteries in them. You don't want that shit breaking down in your stomach.
That's a really good point.
You know? You want that fucker out. I'd go to A&E. I'd go give me a purgative or something.
It made me throw up. Yeah.
Well, there was a follow-up. In an update video, it says she shared that the AirPod had passed through her system with an X-ray confirming no damage had been done to her insides, and it just revealed that it had passed. So she's gotten rid of it somehow by pooping, obviously.
You'd want to get it back though, wouldn't you? Take it back down to the Apple store and go stop working.
Yeah. Can you buy individuals? Can I have another one? I swallowed the other. I thought it was ibuprofen.
Check this one out.
This one smells like poo. I would legit try. I love going down to the Apple store and trying to get stuff from them because they charge so much money for everything. You can get everything from them. You can. Yeah, you can't buy individuals, no. But
why? That sucks. That you can't buy the left ear. Surely that should be a service, not just for anyone who's selling independent things that can go loose and fly off somewhere. Left with just I swallowed my other one.
Is that now going to be a phobia of yours? You're like,
no, they're not small enough to swallow.
Wrap it in a condom. Why not?
Wrap it in a condom. That's worse. So what you've got the plastic dangling behind. If anything, choking me, completely blocking it up. I'm fucking blowing up a balloon in my throat.
That's a good point. You can't buy one shoe.
You can't buy one.
You ever been to a one shoe?
Oh, that's a good point.
You got the left.
I swallowed the one shoe, and I really need another shoe.
I thought it was ibuprofen. You need to really.
Fuck it, I'll buy two. What am I doing with this one then? Sell it to someone else who's missing a pair. Missing one. Yeah, so that's pretty much the story. There are TikToks associated with that. Find that person if you want to hear them scream and cry that they swallowed a fucking AirPod. The batteries are still at 41%.
Really?
Apparently so, yeah.
That's funny.
So there you go.
I try.
What if you try to play music? Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
I was thinking that. I'm like, I try it. I do all sorts. I'm like, this is an insane situation I've got myself into. I'm going to do something with it. Otherwise, I'm just going to die of lithium poisoning for nothing.
Do you feel the vibrations inside you? Do you think it would give off enough of a?
Be interesting.
It's really pumping off.
Playing gold digger and your stomach's just.
Also, it doesn't say that she's collected up the remains. So she clearly. I mean, I would have checked every poop. I know it was messy, but I would put condoms on my hands, and then I would check each poop.
You could just get nitrile
I
gloves.
I just have a load of condoms. So I need to really get rid of them.
A condom on each finger.
All right, let's go through this one. Oh, what did I eat? Oh, there it is. Pop it in here. Oh,
sliding. The condoms are all like loobies. You're like, what? You're like trying to push this poo.
And I flushed it.
Jesus
Everyone
Christ.
knows you just get a big plastic colander and just shit into that. Put the colander in the toilet bowl. Put the colander in the toilet bowl, and then that's how you do it. Each time you catch the poop, then you break it up, and then you see what's in it.
You're not going to be rinsing lettuce in there, are you, afterwards?
No, you probably want a separate colander. Yeah, I feel like I didn't feel like I needed to say that, but yeah,
if you will.
A colander.
Nice.
Colander, yeah.
Nice.
Keep it spare. Keep it by the toilet for guests. Did you swallow something that you shouldn't have swallowed?
We've got the colander.
We got it. It's right next to the basin. Don't worry. We won't tell anyone. Collect what you can and smush it through. That's what we do.
Christ. Well, I hope that was good. Funny news for you all. For the 2-week break that you're going to have to endure.
Yeah. Have a good Christmas, though.
Have a good holiday season. Happy holidays. That's the most neutral term you can say.
It is.
For whatever you celebrate. Or don't.
Yeah.
Have a great
just
winter.
Desperately praying for the end of winter.
Yeah. It's cold here.
A couple of months left, mate.
They've gone quick though. Like I remember like the last few days of summer, and I'm like, because it stayed warm like right into September, and I was like, okay, this is going to be wintry again now. I always forget. Do you get that when it's like summer, or like
going,
you're like, what's it like to be cold? And then winter comes around, you're like, it's cold.
Oh, this is what cold's like. Oh, I want
it like to be sunny.
I forgot what sun's like.
Yeah. I'm such an idiot. This is the problem. I've constantly got to manage that. I don't know what's going on.
Well, I hope you all manage that better. And we'll see you all in a couple weeks' time. Please enjoy your time off. And thanks once again to our patrons for supporting this. There's the button. Patreon.com/hatfilms if you want to support us. And yeah, we got this on YouTube as well. YouTube, just look for the Hat Chat podcast. You'll find it.
But they'll have to see our faces. You don't need to do that to yourself.
Yeah.
It's fine.
You don't have to do that.
To our sultry tones.
True. And you also get to listen to this awesome Fingal again. So thank you, Will. And have a bloody good holiday.
Indeed.
Bye, everybody.
Have a good one.
Bye.